Sing for Daddy. You sing. I don't know it. Teach me.
Dad, let you be.
Please.
No.
You don't want to sing for Daddy? Daddy misses you. He wants you to sing for him. Yay! Bravo! You're wonderful. You're ready for the theater, really.
Savannah had her first seizure when she was 2.5, and before that she was just this feisty, silly, energetic little girl.
I love you, Dad.
Sing on.
Hi, beautiful.
Shine in here. Whoever's open.
How do I get to open a present?
We're going to open presents as soon as Grandpa's... Pew, pew.
It was 2 o'clock in the morning, in the middle of the night, and we woke up, heard her gagging and making these gurgling noises, and we thought she was choking.
She starts kicking me in the back, so I'm thinking, she's just having a nightmare. It seemed like she was choking, so we flip on the lights, and then we see her eyes are rolled back and a little bit of frost in her mouth, and it scared us because we had no idea. I mean, she didn't have a fever. She never, she didn't fall down. It just happened out of the blue.
They came here with the ambulance, and by the time they got here, of course, it was over. They're like, her airway's clear, but what you described sounds a lot like a seizure. And so I remember my husband and I looked at each other like, oh, a seizure, what is that?
Every day after that, we watched her just because. We had no idea if there was another seizure coming. We don't know what caused it. And so after that, it's been fear, just not knowing where it's coming from or how it happened. And since that day in December, our life's never been the same.
Epileptic seizures are very common, and your chances of having at least one epileptic seizure in a lifetime is 1 in 10. Only about 1/3 of the people who have an epileptic seizure go on to have epilepsy. The other 2/3 suffer from a condition where the brain has a natural response to insult, but is not permanently disordered. It's normal. So once the insult is removed, the brain goes back to being a normal brain. Epilepsy means that the brain is abnormal in a way that will produce recurrent seizures. And that is caused by a tremendous variety of disorders. So we consider it to be more the epilepsies rather than epilepsy.
Epilepsy is, by its definition, more than one seizure. The more scientific is that it's a paroxysmal change in alertness or motor function or sensation caused by sort of an electrical abnormality in the brain. It is usually unpredictable. You can't tell when it's going to happen.
I'm here. It's all right, Nana. Nana, I'm here. Nana, come on. It's all right, baby. All right. It's all right. I'm here, Mama. I'm here. I'm here, baby. I'm here. I'll be sick.
It turns out these were generalized tonic-clonic seizures at night that she was having. We didn't know that. She had 3 more, so a total of 4 seizures over a 2-month period. And then she went 6 months where we saw no seizures. And I was watching her like a hawk. I was a stay-home mom. She wasn't in school yet, and she was sleeping with us, and no seizures for 6 months. We thought, okay, phew, we bypassed that one. Good for us. But when she turned 3, she started having more seizures, and she started having multiple types at that time. So the tonic-clonics at night, and then she started having jerking seizures, myoclonic seizures. She started having staring seizures, the atypical absent seizures, and she started having drop seizures where she would just lose tone in her body and then fall. If you think of seizures, a lot of times people will think of, oh, falling to the ground, shaking violently, you know, maybe foaming at the mouth a little bit, but anything your brain can do, a seizure can manifest that way, from picking at your clothes or moving your hand or playing with your hair. I mean, a hallucination, a smell, and all of these things can be seizure activity. Hello, hello. Hello.
Okay, go ahead and
okay.
put it right on.
Sam, stop playing with it. There it is.
Did she get, I forgot if she got a 102 model or she got the 103.
She got the 103.
Right, okay. So she could wear her spaghetti strap tops.
Oh, because that's so crucial
yeah.
for us. That the scar not be seen.
Right.
But the battery doesn't last as long. That's okay. That's okay. I just work here.
Mama did. Hello.
Hello. Hello. You're so silly.
My listen.
Hello. Hello.
I did a big one.
Do a big one.
Hello.
You're so silly.
Jason.
She's pretty much always like this. Hello.
She is
Hello.
a silly girl.
She's very silly.
Hello.
Okay.
She's got this new thing where she tells us she likes our eyeball.
Dad.
Oh, really? Look at him over there. Look at him over here. Good. Look there. Now touch the parrot's nose with your finger. Excellent. Touch it with the other finger. Excellent. Good. And let me see you walk over to the corner.
It was one day I was carrying an order over to the lab. Savannah was about 3.5 or 4, and it said the word epilepsy on it. Not diagnosing her, but it just kind of said epilepsy, and so I'm like, oh, epilepsy. What is that? That sounds bad. And so somebody says, oh, that means she has recurrent seizures, and I'm like, oh, well, I knew that. You know, of course she has recurrent seizures. Who is that guy? Who is that? Who's that typing? He's wearing his Marvin the Martian tie. Who is that? Did you say hi to him? You like his shoes? He's wearing some Crocs. Nice.
People are not, they're not always diagnosed with the word epilepsy. So they might be told they have a seizure disorder or they have Dravet's syndrome. There's many, many rare syndromes, Rasmussen's encephalitis, and you don't hear the word epilepsy in there.
Okay, go ahead in there.
Yeah, no, not your run.
Good.
Sorry.
So
Mark, yeah.
she's a little unsteady with turns.
I really think families go through this progression. It might be silly, it might not be silly, you can argue it, but first you need to know what it is. You know, it needs to have a name, you know, even if you don't want to hear it. You know, cancer patients get this all the time. You have cancer. You know, okay, I have cancer. What kind of cancer do you have? Okay, this is the kind, you know, they don't tiptoe around it in cancer, you know, oh, we're going to call it abnormal cell growth. No, it's cancer, you know, and then you need to know what caused it. And hopefully you're lucky enough to get to that point. And we've never been lucky enough to find out. I mean, Savannah's been seizing for so long. We don't know why she has seizures and why one day she was fine and one day she wasn't.
Nobody wanted to be the first one to pull the trigger and say, yes, it's epilepsy. You know, they just try to, maybe it was something else. Maybe she just fell and hit her head and maybe that's what happened, but that's not what happened. You know, to this day, they still don't know.
Lennox-Gestaut syndrome is considered one of the catastrophic epilepsies of childhood. It's a syndrome. You have a particular pattern on your EEG. You have multiple seizure types that are usually uncontrolled, and you have intellectual disability.
All right.
I'm here, baby. I'm here. I'm here. It's okay, mommy. I'm here, honey.
Hey, Savannah, do you have seizures? Do you have shakes? You have little shakes. Do you have big shakes? You do? What happens when you have a shake?
I tell Mom and Dad.
You tell your mom and dad. Oh, that's so good. That's what you're supposed to do. Savannah has had a fantastic school experience, which is not often the case. We have just been able to work with people that really want to work with her and that care and that want to take the time to understand her needs, seizures, and how is it that can we get her basic safety needs met and then educate her above and beyond that.
I've been working with Savannah on trying to, trace her name, identify certain people that are in her life's names, address, colors, numbers, phone number. So we got there and then we kind of lost her for a while and then she came back. Oh, who's that? Who's that?
Tracy.
Who's Tracy?
My mom.
Oh gosh. I've seen Savannah come from barely holding a pencil to tracing her name. She knows she's really come a long ways in learning colors. When we work on community signs and stuff, she's got them so fast. So fast. She points to the one-way sign and tells me which way to go. That's her version of the elephant.
That's the elephant.
Okay, listen.
Elephants, Asian and African.
He sounds different than you. Careful. He sounds a lot different than you do.
My first one-on-one, I had multiple seizures, 2-3 times a day and usually 5 times a week. So going into this situation, I was already comfortable with it. And when I saw what was going on with Savannah, I'm aware of certain signs to look for and such. A lot of the students now are comfortable with Savannah and they've seen these things. They're even helpful, like Letitia. Letitia's extremely helpful during these situations and they know not to panic, but to actually, what can I do? And I need you just to stand over here for a second or go get a glass of water, anything like that. All these steps like that are little things. But the first time I definitely saw a seizure, it was horribly frightening. But now I'm almost a little bit, not numb to it, but I take a more professional attitude when I see one happen. And then then when it's over, then the emotions come out. And then that's when you're almost in tears.
She has good days and bad days, of course. Some days I can see, like the other day, she just went from first thing in the morning till the end of the day, on task, doing everything, no problems, tracing her name phenomenally, and then the next day she could be having seizures, one right after the other, and I can't get her to trace an S. I can't get her to identify a color. It's tough. It's tough. But the good days outweigh the bad.
I'm not listening enough.
She means a lot to me. It's tough sometimes watching her. She struggles. And she gets mad at herself. And that's hard. But she does make me laugh every day. Every day. And her family will tell you if I don't see her for a week, I got to go visit.
Baba.
Yo!
Mari.
I for isotope.
Just have to look for it.
know, Savannah does face a lot of issues with epilepsy. You know, people constantly look at her because she's different, because she's in a helmet, because, you know, the medications have sort of altered her teeth and her gums. The injuries have left scars. Thankfully, she's not aware of it. I'm aware of it. I would really like to see us in the epilepsy arena move away from stigma. Just state the facts. Hey, people with epilepsy can work. People can have a job. People should be allowed to drive under these conditions as long as safety is at the forefront. We can certainly just talk about it in the realm of fact.
People have misconceptions about the person with epilepsy. They believe that they have a psychiatric disorder, or that they're mentally defective, or that they can perform violent acts, or in some cultures that they are possessed or being punished for sins. And it's interesting to see how prevalent that is even in Western industrialized countries like the United States. Not only because a large segment of our population comes from countries that have these cultural beliefs, but also even people who are educated have misconceptions about epilepsy.
I mean, there's just been this horrendously long history of people believing that if you have a seizure, it's because you're possessed by the devil, or blessed, or whatever. I mean, there's been all these cultural beliefs that people have tried to explain what a seizure is. Until the day we really understand it, people are going to continue to have these misbeliefs or misperceptions about it.
People still think that they're going to swallow their tongue. They still think to put them in their mouth. They just, even like drinking and driving, they go out there and they tell you this and this, and people are still doing the old wives' tales, should I put it? But yeah, you know, and some people still do. They kind of get scared. They have no idea of what's going on or why they're having a seizure. They do. Some stay back and some don't.
This is epilepsy, and this is what we're dealing with. And we need research, and we need improvements, and we need better medications, and that is going to benefit this whole spectrum of people.
Hi, go sit on the couch.
They were a gift from my father. No one was like
You don't like that?
It started out as, you know, trying to figure out what was wrong with my child. So I didn't have any college. I was a stay-at-home mom. And so I said, okay, I'm going to go to college and I'm going to take some classes because I'm trying to read these scientific papers and I don't understand them, so I need to take English classes. I have to take English classes. So I enrolled in some English classes, and it was right about the time that Savannah started going to kindergarten, and so it coincided nicely. I went while she went, and you know, they were happy that I wasn't in the classroom.
I just saw Mom come home every night and tuck me in and make me dinner and help me with my homework if I had any. And so I never got to see her like put all the dedication in for the hours of school, and because she was always just Mom to me.
I took some English classes and I got very good grades, and I'm like, okay, well, clearly my English is okay. Maybe I should take a science class. And I took a science class and I loved it. It was a genetics class, just classical genetics, Mendelian genetics, and I loved it. And then over time, I mean, I just kept going to school. It was sort of an outlet for me, going to college. I got my associate's degree. That took 4 years. I got my bachelor's degree. That took another 3 years. And then decided to go to graduate school because I liked science so much. And that took 4.5 years. And then somewhere, I think maybe the first or second year of grad school, I decided that I loved science enough and I disliked epilepsy enough to marry the two, and that I wanted to do epilepsy research.
When it comes around for graduation, she got her PhD, it's like, I never got to see any of that work done, but it's like, it's an amazing story, and like, she deserves everything she's gotten. And she's the best mom in the world.
Well, she did it. She fell in love with science. It's been like that ever since. And Savannah's a driving force. You know, Savannah. I mean, just for all of us. You know, talent and you know, all members of my family. It's always about Savannah.
it just became apparently clear to me that I should go into research because so much work is needed. And if I could do the tiniest little thing to help, you know, if I could just toil in obscurity somewhere and you know, advance the cause, even just the tiniest bit, wonderful. That would be great.
At times, I mean, I put in 12.5-hour days of work, and she puts in longer hours than I do. Again, that's why we leave that thing up there on the board. It says cure epilepsy. There's to-do list, number one to-do list. And I know it affects her. I mean, she called me at work, and she was crying, and she told me, she goes, I can't fix her. And I knew immediately what she was talking about. I said, sweetheart, what are you talking about? She goes, I can't fix my daughter. She goes, I'm the mommy, and I'm supposed to protect my daughter. I'm supposed to fix everything, and I can't fix her.
It's March 20th, 1997 at 6:30 in the evening. Mijo, can you come sit on the other side of me over here by the bag? Okay, Mommy. Mommy's here. I'm here, baby. I'm here. I'm here, honey. I'm here.
How many fingers does Nana?
It's alright, baby. It's alright.
2, 3, 4. I play paper, rock, scissors.
She had her first shake about 10 minutes ago, and let's see. She's had about 4 of them now, and she gets more and more tired with each shake. She has a fever of 100.6, taken in the ear. And she's just been kind of, you know, twitching and that kind of thing.
Paper, rock,
like that, twitching and wiggling lips and all that good stuff. And then there's Talon doing paper, rock, scissors in the background. Very funny. Is your hand? Gotcha.
The hope for us is that one day there actually will be a cure. And it's an exciting thing to think about, that research is going in that direction, that it's not just about creating a medication that's going to have less side effects or creating a medication that's going to cut, you know, her seizures down by 30%, but it's about finding a cure for this horrible, horrible disorder. And you know, and still we don't know why she started having seizures. She was normal till she was 2.5, absolutely fine. And then one day she had a seizure, and that was the end of it.
There's so many different types of epilepsy that I think there are going to be cures when we find them. It's not going to be one answer, which just makes it more challenging to do. I think it's a tough, you know, the brain is probably the most complex organ we have in our bodies, but we prefer to look at it as great opportunities, and we think that, you know, understanding epilepsy is going to be a window into understanding all sorts of other brain disorders.
It's an exciting time. I think diagnostically, you know, we're finding all of these genes. I think someday if we can find these genes, we can test people in the office and say, look, you know, based on your genetic profile, I can be very specific about what should help you. There's lots of new drugs coming out on the market. I think neurostimulation is incredible, all the different devices that very smart scientists and engineers are coming up with. And then surgery is getting quicker. Techniques are quicker, better imaging, better MRIs to say, you know, 10 years ago we didn't see anything. Now we can see where there's something wrong on your brain that may be causing your seizures. You
know, a cure for someone like us is hope. I mean, that's it. It's it's the only hope that we really hold. You know, except maybe hoping that she stops seizing someday, but hoping for a cure. And so I think that in 10 years we can see some progress in some of the different epilepsies, because epilepsy is not one condition, but it's actually 10,000 different causes. You know, different seizure manifestations, and so really, you know, there's some work to be done to define what the different epilepsies are.
It's okay, Mommy. Here. Mama's here. Mama's here, baby. Mama's here. It's okay, honey. I'm here. I'm here, baby. Mommy's here. I'm here, Mama. I'm here. Alright.
That's something new right there.
Alright, man, I'm here. I'm here. Take it.
Good girl. Good girl. What are you doing? Which one is that one? What is this?
A crocodile.
A crocodile. Wow, Mom. You're right. I thought it was an alligator.
Not you.
That's me. I'm an alligator. Yeah, sometimes I'm grumpy sometimes.
What kind of things do you like to do? Puzzles. Oh yeah, we love puzzles. She's better at doing puzzles than I am. I mean, sometimes I get those pieces and I can't find out where it goes for the life of me, but she's very good. She loves to do puzzles. She loves to take her dog for a walk.
Yeah.
Yeah, baby. What else do you like to do? What else do you like to do? You like your brother's eyeball.
She sees the world through a different set of eyes. You know, we see the mean stuff, the bad stuff. She doesn't. I mean, she sees the good things in people.
One word to describe Savannah: a dork. She's just a dork. She's just so funny. Just the thing she does is, like in the kitchen, if I say something, I was like, I forget what I said, but then she thought I said she has big feet. And I was like, that's not what I said. And she just like, just the way she is, she's just so full of love, and she's just someone you want to be around.
Did you forget?
Zebra dog.
They all kind of look alike, don't they? Look. All right, put the D down. Two more. Two more.
I tell 1, 2, go.
Okay, go.
Get up. Get up.
B, letter B. B for
Go.
not ghost. Elephant. Put it right here. That was a tough one. You did it though.
Where's the T?
I don't know.
I think I ate it because I was hungry.
Talk no.
Ew.
All right, put the E on. Yay! Woo! Game over. I never thought that was gonna end. High five.
We live a pretty isolated life. It's our family, you know. It's Ruben, it's me, it's Savannah and Talon, and we don't, you know, venture out into the world too much. And you know, thankfully, it's not lonely because we have each other. But you know, it's hard. It's hard to, you know, be out in the public when you have a child that can just drop at any moment and have a seizure.
It drew us all closer together. Even Talon at a young age when we were at the Fisher House at Balboa, and we were in the common kitchen. Talon was 6'5", you know, real young. And he runs over to the kitchen and lets us know, Dad, you know, that Savannah's having a seizure. And that he tried to hold her real tight to stop the seizure, but they wouldn't stop. But at least he grabbed the pillows that they were in the front room and he kind of put them around her. So even at the young age, you know, he was aware that something was not right with Savannah.
I just work and go to school and take care of Savannah. That's all I do. When I was young, I was so oblivious to everything because I was like, I never understood because I was just so young and I couldn't comprehend it. And now that I'm older, I realize what was happening. But the first year, I can't even remember it. You know, every kid wants the attention of mom and dad. And I used to fight with Savannah a lot, you know, back when I was 10. But now that I'm older, no, because it's really all about her.
You know, a lot of families that have kids like Savannah, so the divorce rate is real high. But with us, it's always, we've never even thought about stuff like that, you know, about, you know, we don't get to hold hands as much as, you know, as we used to or stuff like that. But now it doesn't matter. It's just that right now, Savannah is a priority. You know, that'll come later.
I mostly just feel like we're trying to keep Savannah alive and uninjured. And that is so much of the focus of what my day involves when I'm with Savannah.
What is this? Do you know what this is?
My mat.
Your mat. This is Savannah's seizure safety placemat. So when she's eating, if she has a seizure that throws her forward, that this will protect her head. So We've had a couple of head injuries on this counter, including a pretty serious one that caused her to get 13 staples in the back of her head. So she hit the back of her head on this counter, and so that's why she's in the helmet full time now. And so this is great. It protects the face, and she probably should have a helmet that goes completely across her face, but she won't wear it, so that's the problem.
Mama, go get your helmet on. What is that? What is that, Mom?
That's an eyeball.
That's not an eyeball. See, you're ready to be a surgeon. Come on, put your helmet on. All right, enough hugs. Go get your helmet on. You don't want this one, go get your purple one. Hurry up. And that's the other battle, is helmets. Just trying to put those helmets on sometimes it's a battle. I was thinking maybe getting bubble wrap and just wrap around a bubble wrap.
And then we have your magnets. These are stuck throughout the house. We have like 6 of them, one in each room, and they stick very nicely to the metal beams. And so this goes with her vagal nerve stimulator, which is implanted in her chest. And so if she has a seizure, we can swipe it across and induce the next level of stimulation for a minute. And then sometimes it actually helps to stop the seizure. So we have these all around the house. Whose medicine is this?
Mine.
This is yours. So this medicine helps with her tonic-clonic seizures, but it also has some pretty nasty side effects like gum overgrowth and hairiness and unsteadiness, staggering. And it can also increase her absence type of seizure. So there's that medication. And then this medication helps with her drop seizures, but it doesn't help with them 100% because she still sometimes has seizures. And it can also increase her absence seizures. And then this medication, we don't really know what it's doing at this point. But we know if we try to take it away, she has more seizures. And she has more of both kinds of absence and tonic-clonic seizures. We don't really know what that one's doing. And then one of her medications, which is in the other room, I believe, because we just ordered it from the doctor, we just can't get her off of it. And we haven't changed the dose since she was like 4 years old, but we just can't get her off of it. And then this is a new medicine. We put her on it, and she had a 70% reduction in the number of seizures for the first month. And then she went back up to having the regular amount of seizures again. And we don't know why we lost control. And then now when we try to wean it, she has more seizures. And then this one interacts with this one, and this one interacts with this one. So by the time you get on this many medications, you never really know quite what you're dealing with.
The good news is that about 60% of people with this disorder will have their seizures controlled by anti-seizure drugs. Although they may have problems from the drugs or from other aspects of the condition that causes the epilepsy, they can often lead a normal life. But there are about 40% who continue to have seizures even though the drugs don't work. And this is the major cause of disability and the major cost to society.
One option is medicines. Okay, there are many different medicines, over 20 now on the market that we use for epilepsy. Many of them work real well. Most of the time that's what we start with. If medicines don't work, usually the second thing at least we start thinking about is surgery. There are certainly families or patients for that matter who are not candidates. Either their seizures are coming from everywhere, their seizures are coming from several spots, or it's coming from a part of the brain they don't want to have removed. Okay, their language, their motor cortex, their memory, or they just aren't willing for surgery. If either of those situations are not applicable for whatever reason, then sort of the third and fourth are dietary treatments, and then the fourth is neurostimulation. Okay, so the idea of neurostimulation is sort of, again, like the diet, it's a non-pharmacologic treatment, so something other than medicines, typically used when medicines have not been effective.
You know, I have a love-hate relationship with the medications because I know that they're the reason, you know, a lot of the reasons that she has so many problems walking and talking and with memory and things are medication too, not just seizures. And, you know, the gum overgrowth and things, but she would not be alive today without medication. And I think, you know, in the beginning, every parent struggles, every person with epilepsy struggles with, well, what's worse, the seizures or the medicine? And there was a time in our life that it became very, very clear that the seizures were worse. Savannah was in the hospital. She was having
Well, first she was home and she was having just multiple tonic-clonic seizures in a day. And then between the tonic-clonic seizures, she was having atypical absence. So it was kind of like she was just a seizing mess the whole time. And we took her to the hospital and they gave her high doses of Ativan. And eventually that stopped the seizures. And if that medication hadn't been put on board and if we hadn't been able to modulate the medication, she would have died, that day. And 3 other times since then, frankly, that she's been in the hospital and we've almost lost her. And what saved her was actually medication.
It's very important to understand that the therapeutic goal for epilepsy is no seizures and no side effects as soon as possible, which means that if the drugs are not working, after a few appropriate trials, and the International League Against Epilepsy has considered anyone who has seizures after failure of 2 drug trials to have drug-resistant epilepsy should be referred to specialists.
When Savannah was 5.5, she went in for a surgical workup, and at that time she was finally diagnosed with Lennox-Gestaut syndrome. And she clearly wasn't a candidate for surgery. Her seizures were coming from multiple places in her brain, not the same places. They were arising basically in many places at once, so she was having generalized seizures. So she became a candidate quickly for the ketogenic diet.
It's now 90 years that people have been using diets for epilepsy. In 1921 at the Mayo Clinic in Rochester, Minnesota, they said if we put someone on a high-fat, low-carbohydrate diet, you can make your body be in a starvation state and create ketones. And sort of use the fat as a fuel source, creating those ketone bodies, which the body can use as fuel. And they realized that that would help suppress seizures.
It was miraculous, and she was having 30 seizures a day was kind of her average and bad days. And then she went on the diet, and I think they admitted her on a Monday, and she was having 30 seizures a day, and then by Friday she had 4 seizures. And then by that following month, I think she had a total of 6 seizures. But then the following month she had 9 seizures, and then the following month she had 15, and then by month 4 we were basically back up to 40 seizures a day.
I love you, Nana girl. Got 2 boo-boos on your head? Let me see your boo-boo again.
And look at Mama. Show your boo-boo. Point to it. Put your finger on it. Mama, go like this. Nana? See one there? See it?
Yeah.
One there. Point to it, Mom. Put your finger on it. Right there, Mama. And right
That
there.
hurt, beautiful girl.
The first time that Tracy told me that Savannah was going to die, we went to, it was Palm Springs. We went for a conference, and Savannah was in the back with Tracy playing a puzzle, and I'm driving down the road, I'm looking in the mirror, and Tracy asked me if I had been paying attention during the conference, and I said, no, I was watching Savannah, and then, well, she said, well, Savannah's going to die. One day, they categorized her, and they categorized between 20 and 28, and now she's 18 years old. So that scares me. I mean, I know it's coming. I know it's coming. You kind of, while you got other people talking about, cheerleading camp and softball, and then we're talking about, trying to plan our daughter's death.
Status epilepticus is a term that was given to describe seizures that don't end on their own. And there's 2 kinds. There's convulsive status epilepticus, so this would be like a generalized seizure, tonic-clonic seizure that starts and it just doesn't stop. Because usually seizures end. If you were to count up all the seizures, then they usually end. But they don't necessarily have to. And so convulsive status epilepticus is very, very serious, life-threatening condition, and people do die from it on a regular basis. And then there's non-convulsive status, where a person goes into a seizure that doesn't end, but they're having smaller seizures. Maybe they're just having stares continually, or in Savannah's case, she has atypical absence, so she stares, but she also twitches. It'll be her head and her fingers and her eyes. And then this will just go on for hours.
If she starts going at the status, and then we scramble. I mean, Talon knows what to do. I mean, he starts packing stuff for Savannah. Tracy starts packing stuff for Savannah. She starts snatching up her binder and her medical books, and then that's just your heart starts racing, and you just hope for the best.
When she came off the diet, she just started having generalized seizures frequently. And I remember she was at home and she was seizing, and she just kept falling over. You know, she'd just be there, and then all of a sudden she'd be falling over and she'd have another seizure, and then she'd come back up and she'd try to do something. She'd have her puzzle and she was trying to do it. And we took her to the hospital, and she was admitted immediately because when they brought her in, they gave her Ativan and they couldn't stop the seizure. So she, at that point, was in a continuous non-convulsive status epilepticus, so a non-convulsive seizure that was just continuing, and then she was breaking into tonic-clonic seizures, and then she was going back into non-convulsive status. And the Ativan wasn't working, and so she was put in the pediatric intensive care unit, and we were just exhausted. We had been up with her, we had been trying to, you know, working with the doctors to stop her seizures, and I just remember she was kind of gray, like she was seizing, but she had lost her color, kind of the way somebody does when they're about to die. Basically, they give the kid Versed to put them in a coma so that they stop seizing. It just kind of shuts down the body, and so they were just about to do that. And they gave her one more dose of Ativan, and I don't know how much Ativan they gave her, but I'm like, please do not. I mean, I know that she's doing really horribly, but you know, if you put her in this coma, then you know there's no guarantee that she's going to wake up. And they do this all the time to kids, stop seizures. And so they gave her one more dose of Ativan, and it started to break up the seizures. And then they gave her some more eventually, like when time went by. And so, I mean, that's really all I remember about it, because most of those episodes, I don't remember. I just remember being scared. Do you know what I mean? It's like I've kind of like put them out of my head. I don't know, I try not to remember them, but I do remember that one. I remember that she just looked gray, and that we thought, oh my God, this is it, we're gonna lose her, you know? And it wasn't even an option to put her back on the diet at that point, because she wasn't eating, you know, I mean, she was. And I think we were in the hospital for a total of 2 or 3 weeks, and she finally started to come back. And that's happened 4 times.
Savannah was laying on the sofa when I walked out, and when I walked back in, she was laying on the carpet facing the opposite direction. There was a big orange stain that was surrounding her head. And I knew what it was. It was mango. We had just given her some mango. And then I ran up to her, and her hair was all on her face, and I moved it back, and next thing you know, she was blue and gray in the face. And so we started CPR. And the reason that I was doing the CPR was, you know, some people say, oh, you know, you were a good guy. I said, no, the reason I did it because if Savannah had died on us, I think I would have blamed Tracy. Did she do everything that, you know, possible that she did to try to save Savannah? And if she had, I would have blamed her for it. You know, just I guess an excuse or a reason to it. And I didn't want that. I knew I didn't want that. And so that's why I did it myself. So if she was to die, then I'd have nobody to blame except myself, and have to look at myself every day. I just kept saying over and over, I'm not ready, I'm not ready, I'm not ready. I just kept pumping that chest because I'm not ready, I'm not ready. And when she finally breathed, it was, I don't know, I just can't even imagine, you know.
For me, it was just watching this baby who just had all the potential in the world just be robbed of that day after day by seizure after seizure. And then standing there really watching powerlessly every time she would
every time she would go down and have a seizure, you know, and just being absolutely powerless to do anything about it. And so for me, it was just watching that unfold. I mean, I have been watching Savannah seize for 15 years, and nobody should have to watch that. I mean, nobody should have to watch their kid have one seizure, let alone 27,000 seizures, you know, and I count them because that's all I can really do. She is so happy, and she just has this beautiful soul. I mean, it's just, I don't know where it came from, but if we didn't have it, I just don't know how I would be able to be positive and uplifting. I mean, she's the reason that I'm the way I am.
I'm just happy for what I have. I mean, she can stand here with me. She can at least talk to me. She can hug me, kiss me, and I'll take it. Oh, thank you, Mom. She's gonna be a politician one day. Thank you, Governor.
Not a sand crab? They like sand. They like to hide in the sand. There he is. There he goes. He's running away.
Can you sing Twinkle Twinkle Little Star? Let me see it. I love it, Mom. Thank you for singing it for me.
Yeah, Mama.
Can I wear your helmet? Am I allowed to wear this? I think it's on backwards. I think it's backwards. I look at Savannah and I look at how she sees life and how happy she is and how much love she has. And that keeps me focusing on the positive, because for every negative thing that you can say about epilepsy, you can just stick with that and focus only on the negative, or you can say, okay, I'm going to look for something positive in this. And a lot of times the things that's positive is that Savannah is so happy, you know, despite all of it. It's a beautiful thing. And I've been to a place where there's no hope. I've been there. I've suffered from depression ever since Savannah got diagnosed, and it comes and it goes, and I've seen what it's like to live without hope, and it's ugly. It's an ugly place to be. And so my advice to anyone out there that is, you know, wanting to lose hope, I would say hold on to it with both hands, because you do not want to go to this ugly place where there's no hope.
So what is your job? What is your job in life? Mom, what is your job? What is your job to do?
That I want that office.
You work in a nurse's office. Wow, what do you do in a nurse's office? What do you do? You make ice bags for the athletes?
Yeah.
You make, yeah, okay, yeah. Well, that's her job. I always thought she didn't have a job, but she said her job is to work in a nurse's office. So that's her job. What was your other job? To be a what? Princess. That's her other job, is to be a princess. She doesn't have a W-2 for it, but she's got it.
Hard times are all around. Hard times get us down, but hard times gotta go someday. Hard times make us cry. We don't always know why, but hard times will someday pay for all the pain. A man says that I'm dead, but he don't really know. I clear my hair, no rocking chair, it's the way things go. The sun shines, the moon flies, and I'm in between. The wind howls, the rain showers, everything that's green. It's hard times all around, hard times get us down, but the hard times gotta go someday. Hard times make us cry, we don't always know why, but hard times will someday pay for all the pain. My name don't mean anything with your name in sight, and my shame don't hold a flame to your shame tonight. I'm not first class, more like dead last, but I still take a bow. I'm low on cash, but high in sash. You ain't better than me, no how. And it's hard times all around. Hard times get me down, but hard times gotta go someday. Hard times make us cry. We don't always know why, but hard times will someday pay for all the pain. Clouds hover in the stormy weather, but you're still on my mind. I'm looking for slumber, but I can't go under. The lightning shaking my spine. And art is escape.